This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Coffee Fuel Store.
Interrupting all programs.
This is Radio UNK. Radio UNK. Hey, it's me, DJ Unicorn, your pocket DJ, and you're listening to Radio UNK. Let's get amped with author and musician Ronald Malfi. He is our special guest and featured artist on this week's New Music Monday. Hello and welcome to the show, Ron.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on. I'm so excited. This is great.
This is so cool. Thank you so much for such a short notice and jumping in here and wanting to do this. So
I do everything short notice. That's great.
Right? That's fly by the seat of your pants, right?
Exactly.
That's awesome. Why don't you let the unicornos, as I like to call the listeners, let them know who you are and what you're about, and then we'll get into your record launch and we'll talk about your books as well.
Yeah, I'm Ronald Malfi. I am a novelist. I write kind of spooky books, little horror novels, thriller, suspense. My newest one is a collection of 5 novellas called They Lurk that just came out, I believe, last Tuesday. And I'm also the front man of the rock band Veer, so I play guitar and sing for those knuckleheads. And we've got our second album coming out, which will be last Saturday, I guess, for your listeners. And that album is called Soft Machines. And I'm happy to be here to talk to you about both of them.
That is so cool. Let's go ahead and dive into some music questions first.
Sure.
So I'm gonna ask you about teenage music years, because that's kind of like the formative for when we started listening to music and defining ourselves, right, as who we are and what we're into, right?
Right.
So when you were a teenager, what band posters were on your walls?
That's a good question. I thought you were just going to go general and ask me what music I liked, which everyone band posters. I had a John Lennon poster. I had the album cover the poster of the album cover for Throwing Copper, the live album that was out. There was a Springsteen poster. There was a Spice Girls poster. I won't necessarily get into that. What else did I have? I think I may have had a Prince poster at one point, maybe. I think. Yeah. And there was a period where, just to irritate my parents, I photocopied Richard Nixon's face and put him on all the that was the extent of my rebellion. But yeah.
Awesome.
John Lennon was prominent. It was right by my bed. It was a blue hand sketched big one of him playing a guitar. That's what I remember the most.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. As a teenager, did you ever imagine you'd be doing what you're doing, playing music and writing books, living the dream life, so to speak?
It's funny. I was dumb enough at that age to think that if you just wanted to do something and wanted to pursue it, you could make it happen. So had I been a little savvier, a little more worldly, I probably would have given up on both of these things, but I wasn't. I just, it never occurred to me that I wouldn't be able to do them. I just figured, I'll keep writing, and when I'm, old enough and trying to, start a career and doing all that fun stuff, then that's when my writing career would take off. So I was kind of naive in that regard, but I guess my pig-headed, doggedness, just kind of saw me through in that regard. As for the music, you know what? Honestly, as much as I always loved playing music, I never thought that I would continue doing it this long, only because, with writing, it's a very solitary endeavor. It's just me. I only rely on myself. with music, I got three other, it's a three-headed monster I deal with at every band rehearsal and every show. And I mean, they're all great and we're as tight as can be, but you got to rely on other people for that. And I don't trust my skills as a solo artist, so there's that. But so I always figured to be a part of my life in some regard. But as far as continuing to play live, make records, that sort of thing, I don't know. I'm kind of surprised I'm doing that now, to be honest with you. We're still doing it. Yeah.
So your teenage self would truly be like, "Wow, holy crap, I'm doing it."
Yeah, he would be. He'd be like, "This guy's a badass," and I'd be like, "Get away from me, kid."
So I've got a feeling this is going to be our last teenage question, or I should rephrase that. How old were you when you got your first guitar? And do you remember the first song you learned and or played?
Wow. So I got a guitar before I knew how to play music as like a Christmas gift or something from my parents. It was an old Squire 2. I still have it like hanging in my basement.
Nice.
It looks like it's been through the apocalypse, but yeah. But I didn't know how to play, and I really wasn't interested in playing music at the time. What really got me interested is I was a junior in high school, so late as far as like kind of learning music goes. And it's going to sound a little weird because I love alternative rock. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. I listen to all that. It's my favorite kind of stuff. But I was home from school one day, sick, sitting on the couch, and then the movie Great Balls of Fire came on with Dennis Quaid. And I was so blown away by the music in that movie and watching his hands. I got it from the couch. I put like a VHS tape. This is how long ago it was. VHS tape in the recorder. I recorded the movie and then I played it back over and over and over to watch the hands play. And we had like this cheap little Casio keyboard in the house. So I got that out and I learned how to play all of that. And I guess what I didn't realize is I had a kind of a natural ear, just kind of I could pick up stuff and play it back, but I'd never played music before, so I didn't know that was something that not everybody can do. So around that same time, my parents' friends were moving. They moved an old upright grand piano into the house. They wanted my little sister to take piano lessons. I don't think she ever touched it, but I fell in love with this thing, and I played it for like 2 months straight. And I basically, after 2 months of playing, I could play anything. I was playing classical music. I was playing whatever was on the radio. I was playing, all of my CDs. So the first songs were me emulating those Jerry Lee Lewis songs. But then I remember, I think I forced my brothers to join me in a band. I have two younger brothers. They play drums and stuff. And I think Downbound Train by Springsteen was the first thing the three of us tried to put together. And we called ourselves the Captives because we were all grounded. We couldn't leave the house. So that was my first band with my brothers.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That is so cool. Thank you for sharing that. There's something kind of well, obviously besides the nostalgia, but when you think about like hearing how other musicians are inspired from other musicians and how it just kind of feeds, and the fact that you were able to just play that stuff back, I'm like blown away. Like I'm not worthy. Like that's freaking awesome. Like I wish I had that talent.
Well, I got stupid lucky with the fact that after, once I became serious with music, my friends and I put together our first like legit, band when we were in high school, again, like junior year of high school. My one brother was on drums. My best friend was on bass. My other best friend, I guess, was on the other guitar. We took turns singing, and it just happened to be like me and the other singer and guitar player. He could do the same thing and didn't realize it. So we could listen. So we wound up getting gigs at parties. Like people would give us like a 40 song list. We learned them in a weekend just by learning it.
Oh my God.
And then we started writing our own stuff, which just we had a good bounce of back and forth between me and the other guy, my buddy Chase, who was also very good. He was a great songwriter, great eclectic musician. Only because we were all both eclectic because we didn't know how to play, properly. So I kind of got spoiled with that because years later, when you try to assemble bands with other people and you realize, oh, wow, not everybody can do that. Like you actually need sheet music. I don't know how to read music. That doesn't mean anything to me. Like the pace was much slower,
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I was really spoiled out of the gate. I didn't have to do a lot of work up front, and it was more work on the back end, learning, to play with other people.
That's so cool, man. Yeah, I think that's like every musician's like wish, or like if you had a genie and you'd be like, okay, I want to be able to just play anything and hear anything and just rock with it. I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
It's a personal question for you before we get into the band stuff. You're from New York.
Yeah.
Did you ever, I know you're a bit younger than me, but did you ever make it to CBGB before it shut down?
No, that was another poster I had on my wall though. But no, I didn't. I'm from Brooklyn, New York originally. I was pretty young when we moved out of there, so I've been living in Maryland since like 10 years old. They make me turn in my Brooklyn card.
But that's pretty cool. Maryland is freaking awesome. Like I have mad respect for Maryland. You guys have like a really big imprint on. I was actually doing some research on your website, and you guys have won a lot of awards. You have like your accolades on the website is like phenomenal. I was just like, holy crap! Like these guys are like seriously legit East Coast rockers.
Yeah, I mean, so with Veer, I guess we've been around since like late 2016 or so. That was after 20 years of not playing any music, and my brother, who's the drummer, my brother John is the drummer of Veer. He's also a Luther. He builds guitars, so he would throw these festivals for his sponsored artists every year. And one year he's like, you know what? Let's get up and play with it. It's been forever. Let's get up and jam with one of my guys. So he played, and man, we got the bug like right back, right? So like after that, we grabbed my buddy Fowler for guitar. His friend Christian came in, and we just got down to it and started writing what became material for our first album that came out in 2018. But we were lucky enough. Well, some of it was luck. A lot of it was hard work on my brother's part, who's not only the drummer but does all our marketing, booking, promotion, design, anything. He's basically 90% of this band, right? He had a lot of contacts, and we were fortunate to get on a lot of bills when nationals would come through Baltimore, anywhere in the Mid-Atlantic region. So we played with Fuel, Trap, 40 Below Summer, Kill Switch, any of those kind of things. So the list has grown, and we've been able to cultivate a fan base basically on the shoulders of those guys. And thank you, fellas. And so now we're kind of doing our own thing. So we'll still do opening acts and festivals for bigger shows that come through town. But then we headline our own gigs locally, and that's kind of kept the ball rolling for us.
Very, that is so cool. Yeah, because your guys' website and your YouTube is like, it's legit. Like I was watching you have the official video for Red Tide,
right,
and Science. And before we go into those, let's talk about the band name and the band sound. What's the story behind the name? And did you guys know you wanted that particular sound for this particular band?
So the name was, so once we started playing, writing music, and you need a name, and of course, I just remember texting my brother back and forth, just every variation, just like you feel like you're 10 years old again, right? Like, I don't know, what about Battery Apple? What about Sky Thong? We were coming up with all this crazy shit, and it was funny, like none of us liked any of it. So then I wrote something back, or I can't remember who wrote what, but it was sort of like, you wouldn't think it'd be this hard to come up with a name just because we've been out of practice for 20 years, ha ha ha. And now we've just happened to veer back into playing. I'm like, Veer, there it is. We went away and we came back. So that's how we got the name. I actually hate the name, but that's how we got the name. I wanted to use Survivor Type. I thought it's like based on it's a title of a Stephen King story, and I'm like, that should be the title of the band, or the name of the band. But I was overruled, I guess.
No,
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, and you had a second part to that.
The sound, how you guys came with the sound, like to quote your actual from your website, which is actually awesome.
Me. Okay.
Mid-range, heavy, deceptively upbeat. And I'll go into my notes because that is actually like the perfect description. Mid-range, heavy, deceptively upbeat. Have you noticed how Coffee Fueled Stories doesn't have any ads? That's because I work tirelessly to keep this show alive. After 3 years on my own, I've decided I need to ask for your help. I've never asked anyone to subscribe. I've never asked anyone to leave a review. I've never asked anyone to rate the show. And I've never asked anyone to pay to listen. There are a few ways you can help support the show. I've created a Patreon page, Coffee Fueled Stories, and a subscription section on my podcast website. It's simple to support and help me keep my dream alive. Just click the link in the show notes to set up your paid subscription option. It's that easy. Thank you for your support.
Well, whoever wrote that, they're spot on. I don't. Yeah, you know what? Like I think if you're writing music, yeah, you can write songs that sound like something else. Like I could write a country song, or I could write a song that sounds like a particular band, right? But when you're kind of doing it organically, it kind of comes out the way it comes out, and it's not just like I write the majority of the material for the band. I bring it to the guys. We work through it. Some of it, they're like, "Hey, nope, don't like it, dump it." I'm like, "Oh, there's a week of my life, okay." And and then other times, if they like it, we rework it then as a 4-piece, and Fowler will bring in his guitar licks. Christian writes his bass lines. My brother John's got a good sense, not just for playing the drums, but how to bring a lot of our songs have this hallmark sort of low verse, heavy chorus kind of thing. He knows when to, the nuances of all that. He's very good with it. So, you replace any one of us and the music will change a little bit. But I think just the sound that we have was just organic to who we are and what we were writing. And really, as far as writing music, I'm a big believer in no need to duplicate something that already exists. I mean, there are plenty of bands out there who all sound the same, doing the same thing. And you could kind of, give me those same 3 or 4 chords and we can do the same thing, but what's the point, right? So I really, from the beginning, I was very interested in playing music that if someone heard it, they couldn't really say, well, that sounds just like this band. Like all their songs could fit on this band's album. Maybe we have 1 or 2 songs that have a sound that sounds, but overall, I just try to keep it fresh, unique, and make it say, oh, that's Veer. That's what Veer sounds like, It happens to be, I write the type of stuff that I enjoy listening to. From other, all other bands and stuff. So it kind of falls into that vein. But yeah, I mean, you replace any one of these guys in this band and you're going to get a different sound, right? Because we're all bringing our own influences. Fowler, my guitar player, very, very blues oriented guitar player. He's really, when you hear our first album has a lot of blues notes to it, even though it's a hard rock album. This album, the Soft Machines, our second record is, he just went over and above and beyond in his style, really changing, getting out of that 1-4-5 progression, getting out of those fifths, those major fifths, and just pushing the boundaries of what he's playing. His solos on this record are mind blowing. His fingers look like small sausages. So if you've ever actually watched him play a guitar, it's amazing that he could move that fast. So, yeah. There's my plug for his fingers.
Nice. No, I love it. It's funny that you say that, because when I was first going back to school to get my degrees, I did about 5 different freelance gigs for a music magazine, an online music magazine. And so one of the things the guy would do is he would send me to a PO box, and there would be like 5 CDs in there.
Right.
And my job was to write things down and do an online review to kind of help get the band exposure.
Right.
And so it's crazy that I was listening to your music, and I have, so these are my notes. Okay. On a yellow legal pad.
I love it. Yeah.
Yes, which I actually caught that in Mr. Cable's, which we'll talk about. But it felt really cool to be listening, because I felt like I was doing my freelance music experience again, listening. And, he would say, okay, compare it to, or, help these guys out and, give. So when I was listening to your Soft Machines, by the way, that media kit that was flawless. So thank you for that. That was perfect.
Great. Well, now I wish I would have sent you an actual CD and really harken back to your old days.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. I was so happy to be able to actually listen to the full album, because I know not everybody can, sometimes they're usually like, here's 3 songs and let us know what you think of this. So the whole album was totally awesome. So thank you for that.
Oh, sure.
So I wrote down all of the songs on Science. Literally, the first that opening riff. That opening riff is just sweet. Red Tide, I felt a little Danzig and Filter vibes.
Yeah.
I felt Filter vibes like kind of like throughout, just to kind of give the listeners an idea of, how you guys sound.
Right.
Photograph. So this is where your mid-range heavy and deceptively upbeat comment comes in. I said YouTube grooves / pop vibes.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. That's it.
Because it's
That
got
little
tambourine in
that's how I
there.
wrote that song, that chuggy little guitar thing in there. I think I stole that from Streets of Have No Name, maybe. I don't know.
It had very
Bono's got
YouTube.
enough money. He's not going to sue me. Yeah.
No. It had that YouTube groove to it. I was digging it. Carry On. Okay, so you're gonna appreciate this because you got to do this with the Pulp Fiction voice. So when they're doing the scene with the coffee at Jimmy's house,
Yeah.
that's some good shit. Now he says gourmet shit, but that's some good shit. So literally, Carry On. That's how I feel. That's some good shit.
Oh, all right. Well, great.
Overcome. Lay It Down.
Mm.
I was like, oh my God, like it was so cool listening to these songs because it was so fresh. It was very exciting because one of the things I feel is being a Gen Xer, I just don't feel connected to the music today. And
Sure.
I don't know if it just had to be with being a teenager or the music that's just out there. It's very different. And so to have your music, to be doing these notes, I felt like I was a young kid who had just saved up my allowance money and I just bought a new record at the end of the week. Because that's what I used to do. I used to go down to Licorice Pizza.
Nice.
And sometimes the grocery store would sell albums, vinyl. And
Right.
I would save my allowance and that's what I would buy. I would buy records. And so it was really cool to connect that experience. So I had a lot of nostalgia as I was listening to your music.
That's just about the best compliment that you could get. That's great. I think that's awesome.
I dig it. A New Place,
Mhm.
optimistic notes. And again, this was before I heard the quote,
Mhm.
optimistic notes, before lyrics even started.
Right.
So before I even heard your lyrics, there were just the music just had this optimistic sound. And then Figure It Out again. Damn, Jimmy. So the same Pulp Fiction. Damn, Jimmy. Now, Keep It Good is my absolute favorite song.
All right.
I literally, fuck yes, driving bass, fuck yes, the guitar transitions, losing my mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of guitar work on that track. It took a while to kind of piece it together. We had to build it in stages. It's a lot. It's like it's almost a 6-minute song too.
Yeah, but it's so sweet. Like that was good. Keep it good, I was digging it.
Oh, great. No, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I wanted to ask you about your pumpkin patch pick tin. How cool
Okay.
is that?
The pumpkin patch. All right. So the pumpkin. So first of all, just like my brother does all our design, and he's a marketing guy. He is a merch junkie. So you come to a Veer show, it looks like Kmart. I mean, we've got a wall full of T-shirts, obviously, but we've got like the Spaceballs lunchbox. We've got everything. You want a flask? We've got a flask. You want earplugs? We've got Veer plugs.
Oh
anything
my gosh.
we just came off of was it last year, a year-long run of we teamed up with a local distillery in Baltimore. We had our own Veer vodka. So we were doing a lot of liquor store promos and stuff like that, which was neat. So merch all over the place. The pumpkin face with the little Veer logo for a stitch.
Yeah, for the mouth.
Yeah. So that was drawn by a friend of ours, and it was done for a run of T-shirts for a Halloween show we did a few years ago. People love that logo, and we've just kind of kept it alive through other, more shirts, or we did like basketball jerseys with them on there. The pick tins, whatever. You could probably find, a spatula with that logo on it somewhere. But yeah, and it kind of crossed over. I'm also a horror writer, so a lot of my fans who are into the music and read my books, they like sort of the creepier stuff. So that Halloween thing really kind of took off. And then we kind of spun it from there, and we have like a Beetlejuice version and like a Ghostbusters version. We're all about copyright infringement, by the way. We'll steal a logo and put our own thing over top of it.
Yeah, Riftbusters. I saw that.
That's right. Yeah. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so that's fun. Yeah, that's where the pumpkin thing comes from.
Oh man, that's so cool. You are wearing some guitar picks in one of your videos. I believe it's Red Tide. So I was going to ask you, is there a story behind those particular guitar picks that you're wearing in that video?
Yeah, there's so one of them, well, it's actually one of them is a guitar pick. It's when we first started this band, my brother, to kind of impress upon me how excited he was, he got guitar picks made with my name on it. And on the backside it's Greedo's head from Star Wars. So I wear that from it for every show. And then the other thing I wear is a bottle cap. Actually, it's not a guitar pick, it's a bottle cap on a string that has the New Orleans water table on the back of it. And I was given that as a gift when I was down there for about a week years and years ago. And there was a little kid, he had them stuck to the bottom of his shoes and he was dancing for money. So I used to go, and every night I'd buy him dinner and we'd talk, and he gave me one on a necklace. So that's where that came from. So I wear that at every show. I forget, this is like a soda bottle cap with the water table of New Orleans in it. Yeah, he was selling them and tap dancing with them and stuff. And so he was nice enough to give me one as a gift. So I've kept it all these years and I wear it at every show.
Oh, that is so sweet. That like, you're such a that's the kind of stuff that just like melts my heart. Like there's something so cool about like being a horror author, a rock and roller, and then being a really fucking good guy. So final question.
Okay.
If you could jam with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Well, to kind of bring it full circle, I'd say Jerry Lee Lewis. He was what got me into music. I fell in love with his stuff. I actually took a road trip and tried to get into his house once. But for the past couple of years, my brothers and I, even that we would kind of talk about, what would be neat is to make a documentary of three brothers who play music only because they, listen to this guy who's from a completely different part of the country, who are cultural norms don't even match up really, but to track this guy down, do a documentary of us going to his house and playing a song with him. And we were going to do it, but he died like last year. So that was a bummer, but so probably that would be my thing.
Very cool. Thank you for tuning in to part 1 of my chat with guest, author, and musician, Ronald Malfi. Tune in to hear part 2 this Friday, where we deep dive into his books. You're listening to Radio UNK. Let's get amped! Radio UNK.